and thanks for tuning in to An Acquired Chef's YouTube channel. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for more culinary innovations coming your way. All right, so we're going to switch over to mango and rose kulfi, which I'm really excited to be sharing. So I'm going to have to weigh some stuff in. So I'm going to put my little jug to the side just so you can watch me weigh. Let's see. Now I'm going to have my recipe keep me honest. So this is the No-Cook Mango and Rose Kulfi recipe I've just got up on the screen. So those are the ingredients that I'm going to quickly pour into this bowl that I have over here. And then I'm going to dump all of that into the blender, and then it's just a churn for a couple of minutes until we get to the consistency we want. So I'm just going to go ahead and weigh all of that out on my side. So let's do this. But yeah, in the meantime, hopefully that recipe is up there, and anyone who's interested can grab a screenshot of it. You're more than welcome to. Or at least the ingredients list is up there. So I'm starting first with double cream that I'm just kind of going in with. Double cream, so that's 1 cup that's gone into the bowl that I've measured. I'm going to throw that into the blender in a second, and I am putting on purpose the double cream at the bottom because that's where the blade's going to be, and I do want it to churn. You're welcome, Sharon. All good. Actually, let me get my blender blade to go in with it first. So double cream goes in at the bottom, followed by the next thing I'll do is the condensed milk, because that's nice and thick and viscous. So it's a half a can or tin that goes in with that. And I'm not going to be obsessive about pouring everything out because I'm going to reset the weighing scale, which means I get to decide how much of the condensed milk's going in with certainty. So I'm throwing in now, I think it's 195 grams or mils, or however you want to call it, of condensed milk going in. I'm going to start scraping this guy up. Cool. So I need to add some additional condensed milk. I need to crack open another can because this one's running low. Let me scrape this guy off first. And just a smidge more. And then I'm going to go in with the cream, sorry, evaporated milk. There it is. So that's going in now with, yep, and we're there. That's 195 of the condensed milk. So that's going in. And so you'll notice with this one, the mixture is a lot more concentrated because we're not cooking it. And so the next bit would be evaporated milk. And I think it's just 65 mils or 1/4 cup of that. And then the rest of it's pretty easy in terms of not needing to measure stuff out. So I have written there 165 grams of mango. But honestly, a whole mango is fine. Some mangoes are bigger than others. You want to definitely get 165 grams in there. If not, then it's not going to have enough mango-y goodness. But the amount of mango I'll throw in here that I cut from a fresh mango this morning is closer to 200 grams. And that I'm totally okay with that. That's going to make it mango-y, and that's fine. And even thick as well, because that mango puree will help with the consistency. But 165 grams at a minimum is what you'll need. Cool. So that's all done in terms of the things that needed to go in milk-wise. I am doing the mango, the cardamom powder, the ground almonds. So similar to what you saw before, 3 tablespoons of the almond meal or ground almond. So as I mentioned, I use this in both because I think it really gives that nutty deliciousness to it. So I put in 3 tablespoons of the almonds. I'm going to go ahead and do the cardamom now. So a teaspoon of that. And then I'm going to do a tablespoon of cornstarch. just because it's going to need some help thickening, even though it's quite creamy already. Cool, so that's good. And just, yeah, cardamom goes in with all kulfi. It's almost quintessential. It's like kulfi has to have cardamom in it, even though it's like a lychee kulfi or a pistachio kulfi or a coconut kulfi. Like it just tends to go, it's just part of the repertoire of kulfi, I suppose, if you like. Cornstarch, that's what I was looking for. I will put it in now because we're fine to blend that all together. So that's all of the stuff that's in there that I called out. Now we're just going to go in with 2 teaspoons of rose water. And that would be 1 teaspoon of rose essence if you had that instead. And that's just going to blend. I'm just going to, yep, I'm just stirring the kulfi on the side so that it's coming to a nice cool. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that to blend. That should be, so I'm going to give it a decent churn and I'm going to go on mute. But I'm going to do like sort of 1 round and then kind of just check the consistency and see if I'm happy with it. It may need some extra cornstarch. So I'm going to go on mute now and then be back in kind of like a minute or so, if that's okay. All right, I've stopped that. And now what I'll show you is what looks like probably relatively good consistency. And you'll notice that I've mixed that all up without the mango because I just wanted that butter fat to kind of get going. And hopefully you can see this, but you'll see how it's dropping and it's really, really thick. That's exactly how I want it to be. Were you guys able to see that? To get the first round of the blend to be just everything without the mango, just to get to that consistency, and hopefully everyone else can see it, but it's really quite thick and it's dropping like so, and that's exactly the right consistency for it. Now I'm going back in with the mangoes. So I've just got, like I said, 165 grams. This is closer to 200 grams. It's a whole mango just diced up roughly. It's not going to struggle in the blender, so a rough chop should do it. And I'm just going to kind of scatter it all around. And now it's going to go back in for the second round of the blend. So I'm going to go on mute one more time and another minute should do it. All right, so I'm going to take him out so you can see the consistency a bit closer. But it is where I think I need it to be just based on how it's blending in. It should be really, really thick, as you can see. It's that sort of really, really thick consistency. It's not watery is the main thing. If it's watery, then you're going to struggle with it being more popsicle-like. And it's not ice cream at the end of the day. It's going to be more like gelato, but that's the right consistency to get it to. And yeah, that's your mango kulfi right there. I'm going to pour it out now into a bowl and I'm going to throw some rose swirls in it because I think that's fun. If you pull out the ice cream later on, you see little red swirls in it. I think it's quite pretty. So I'm just going to pour it into a bowl that has a spout. And again, doing all this while the other kulfi cools because it does take some time to cool. So I'm going to go ahead and just let that beautiful deliciousness all just drip off. And yeah, as you saw, it took 2 minutes in the blender, which is pretty cool for ice cream considering, without an ice cream maker too. Again, Indian ice cream, but yeah. Something fun for summer, I think, just because mango is such a summery fruit, quite refreshing as well. All right, so that's gonna go over here. And now I'm just gonna pour the rest of it out into this guy. So hopefully you can see that's the sort of consistency we're going for. And I'm going to obsessively clean this jug because I don't want to waste any of it because it's really good. But yeah, once this is done, all we'll have to do is cup them, mold them into the paper cups rather. And what I'll do is I'll do the rose syrup swirl first because I think that's a little bit fun. And that went in with the rose essence as well because rose essence is not something that'll evaporate in a blender, unlike the pot. This is rose syrup. This is my most favorite cordial growing up. Hopefully you guys can see it. It's basically rose syrup. It's like rose essence. It's got a slightly different flavor to rose essence, but it's viscous. It's got sugar in it. And it's like a cordial that gets I just love the smell of it. It's like cordial, like you could add it to water, or and in Malaysia, it's air bandung is the name of a drink where they take condensed milk, water, and this, and it becomes a light pink color drink. But yeah, so it's one of those that you can find at a new grocer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just throw it in here into this guy, and I'm just going to swirl it in there and like not completely mix it in. And I think that makes it a little bit fun. So I'm just going to go in with a couple of drops all the way through, completely random. We'll find out how it all comes together. But yes, so if you can see that, I'm just going to swirl it in like you would a marble cake if you like. I'll let it pour. So hopefully you can see that, but that's it. I'm not going to do much more than that. It's going to let it pour into the cup. So I'm going to start with mango kulfi. We're going to do those first. And I've got myself some wax paper cups over here. I shouldn't need more than 8. So I'm just going to, maybe what I'll do here is I'll actually switch over to the top. Puree is just going to just blend in with everything else. The only thing I'd suggest is testing that consistency for the mango, for the batter at the end. If it's still a little bit watery, I'd add more cornstarch, and that should take care of it in case there's a little bit of extra water in the kulfi. Sorry, extra water in the frozen mango is what I meant. I might need 8, but I'm going to go in with some rose petals at the very bottom. Now, the thickness of the kulfi will determine whether or not they rise up. Sometimes they do. Hopefully this time it doesn't. But either way, if it does, it's just going to swirl in with all that beautiful, thick goodness. And I've also got some of the almonds I roasted earlier. So that's just going to try and hold down some of those rose petals. And we're just going to go ahead. This one needs a few more. And it's really pretty when you pull it out later on because it sits at the top. Okay, so we've got our swirly whirly rose mango thing, kulfi batter, if you like. And yeah, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pour it semi sort of like, I'm going to give it a shot a little by little, not put too much into them. And then if I need 2 extra cups, I will grab them, but roughly the same amount into each, roughly. I mean, again, you can get religious on exactly like weighing it out. If you want, you're more than welcome to, but I just kind of like to eyeball it. It's funny, I'm actually using a snout bowl and it's still kind of, it's so thick, it just won't, it refuses to go into the crevice. It's just jumping all over the place, which is fine. Really good one. Very happy with it. All right. I think we're there. Now I think I'm going to grab at least 1 more cup. So let me let that bit drop. There we go. So I have enough, I think, to go with another, probably another cup. So I'll do 1 more cup and then kind of top up the rest. And that'll take the rest of the rose petals. That was well and truly planned. So I'm just going to scrape the bottom and just kind of get the rest of it in there and then into the rest. So here. So I use spoons instead of popsicle sticks because I find that they're easier to pull out of the cup because the spoon has a little bit more of a grip, and also allows you to finish up with, you know, like you just had a meal, like you had a spoon in there. So they just go straight in like that, right? So, and we'll put aluminium foil on top of it. But basically, if it stands, you're on the right track because it needs to be that thick. So if you're trying to put a spoon in and it's struggling to stand up, that's the kulfi test. You probably need to have it go a little bit longer or add more cornstarch into it. So if you're not confident and you're not sure, try 1 cup on its own first and test that. If it's not ready, throw it back in, maybe churn it some more, maybe throw some cornstarch and starch into it. I need 1 more spoon. There we go. I'll grab it from this guy. And those are ready to go. Ready to go straight into the freezer because they don't need to come to room temperature. So I just grabbed these aluminum foils, or you could use Glad wrap like Kathy did. And I've pre-pierced them, as you can see, just so that they can kind of go over the top, just like that, and then straight down like that. And that one's good. And rinse and repeat. And so long as he kind of sits roughly in the middle, you're good as well. Yeah, you can start a whole production line if you if you're not careful. Make your own ice cream at home all the time. So yeah, kind of safe if you think about it from the perspective of the fact that there's really no heat involved, right? It's really just a blender. And so long as you have an adult operating the blender, everything else is kind of like, you know, what a child would be playing with in terms of regular, like if they had a little oven and stove that they were playing with and stuff like that. So it would totally sit within that. And now we'll do it all again with the, let's see if it just kind of pops out because it's been sitting out now for a few minutes. So I'm just doing it like that. And you can see that it's starting to, can you see how the crevices are starting to open up in the corners of the cup? Hopefully that's visible, maybe it's not, but that's just going to allow me to, hopefully, if luck has it, just pop it open. Otherwise, we're going to have to let it sit just a little bit longer. No, it's coming right out. Whoop. There we go. There's the mango kulfi with the rose. There are two different ways for you to pull that out. You could actually just do it as layers. So you could, if you made both, do half of it in pistachio, let it freeze, pull it back out, put the mango in. Yeah, so that's always an option. But here we go. So this is some rose petals for garnish and some of the rose syrup I mentioned earlier. So that just sits over there. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of, I love this color, so I'm just going to let that sit. And there we go. How pretty is that? So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you very soon.